Today I'm going to talk about the idea of conscious uncoupling. What does this mean? And how relationships can be a catalyst for your spiritual growth. Hi, my name is Melissa Kitto, and this channel is dedicated to helping you to connect with your guides, develop your own intuition, and really, align with your life purpose on your spiritual journey of growth and development. So today I'm talking about what is conscious uncoupling. So to me, this is the idea that every relationship that I attract into my life has a purpose to it. You might call that a spiritual contract. This applies to all different types of relationships. It could be a romantic partnership. It could be your kids. It could be your people that you work with, your clients, your friends, and even just acquaintances or people that cross your path very, very briefly. There are many, many different types of contracts. And there are different lengths of contracts. But of course, the spiritual contracts that we have with those who are close to us and our immediate family or very close friends are often the ones that have the most significance in our life. And these relationships really have a purpose to them. A spiritual contract is something that builds both people. I learn from you and you learn from me. And there is a synergy in something that we're bringing to this partnership. It's mutually beneficial. Now, as we know, there can come a time, especially in a marriage or that type of relationship, where things just change. And an energy that was previously building is kind of gone flat. It doesn't feel like it's beneficial to me anymore, or it feels like things have changed, or people will describe that as growing apart, right? And it's really important, in my opinion, to acknowledge and notice when the energy of a contract changes. I've also had this with more platonic friendships where I just felt like it wasn't in my best interest to continue that closeness, or it naturally took its course because I moved away or life circumstances changed things for either person. And sometimes that happens for a reason where that contract has just kind of run its course. So the difficulty comes in when a person deep down inside knows that the contract is not there anymore, but they're holding on to it, right? And we do that for many different reasons. Mostly it's because of all the programming that we've picked up from family, from society, etc. There are these concepts, religious concepts, or right and wrong and shoulds that permeate our society, especially when it comes to relationships. So it can be things like, till death do us part, or divorce is always bad for the kids. And if you buy into that idea, suddenly you've put your own loyalty outside of yourself. And instead, when you really come back to your spiritual truth, you are free. And so you need to make the decisions that are right for you and feel right inside, regardless of, what society or anyone else might say. And that's true freedom. Remember, spiritually, there's no such thing as right and wrong, good and bad. There's no concept of what you should do. That all of those things have come from the outer. So this term conscious uncoupling, I believe, was uncoupling was kind of in the 70s, a way of talking about divorce and that process. And an author, a woman named Katherine Woodward, kind of took on this idea of the conscious uncoupling. And she's written a book about it. Now, I must say I have not read that book, so my definition of it might be slightly different than hers. But to me, this conscious uncoupling is the idea that if you are going through the ending of a relationship of sorts, it's being spiritually aware in that process. It can be really easy to get caught up in emotions and anger even, or resentment and all of those things. And that's where the arguments start happening. And a lot of times the arguing or the tension arises simply because the energy of that contract is just dissipated. You can kind of just feel, it feels like an emptiness. And that really is a clue that something needs to change. Either the contract needs to end, or it needs to change, or it needs to adjust. Something needs to shift. Remember, you are on a learning and growing journey in this lifetime. And so if you always keep things the same, you might be limiting your growth. Things are always evolving and changing. And if you're a person that's attracted to this channel, I can tell you that you're on a pretty advanced spiritual journey, which means that you will go through changes in your life to reflect that you need to attract new experiences to keep learning and growing from. So here's some tips that I have for you in this conscious uncoupling process that I learned from my own personal experience too. So one is that loyalty to self is important. If you are afraid of hurting everybody else, you're leaving yourself out of the equation. The reality is we come in alone and we go out alone. And the only person that you really are here to learn about is yourself. Now that can seem pretty harsh and selfish to some people. Well, I'm here for my kids or I'm here for others. But ultimately, they're just kind of players in that script. And what I came to really know for myself is that when I'm loyal to myself and do what feels best for me, it ultimately is the best service to others, even if they don't like it initially. Because growth and change needs to keep happening. Another tip is that just stay aware of the spiritual growth that you're having throughout the process. And how can you stay, relaxed and positive as much as possible. And then my last tip, if you're going through this, is to make a clear decision within yourself. Once you have made that decision, you have a commitment in place, rather than this wishy-washy, indecisive energy of will I, won't I, will I, won't I. There's a power and a clarity behind making a decision and making a commitment. And whatever limiting thoughts that you have about why you can't do this or why you can't make this change will be solved simply by the power of commitment. I know I went through this. I didn't think I could do it for many reasons, but when I made a clear decision, things started lining up. And as far as working with your angels, you don't have to worry about the how. When you decide and you know what you want and where you're going, they will help you to have those solutions. The how will show up. You just have to stay true to yourself. So I know this can be incredibly challenging, but also I encourage you to turn it around and see the power and the confidence that you're having in yourself when you make this evolution and this growth. And that will continue, to any new contracts that you might attract into your life. Now, one other thing I'll add to this too is that sometimes we can do the opposite. Sometimes we can have a contract and end it too soon. We all know, we've heard stories about people that have fear of commitment in relationships, right? So the opposite can be true as well, is really, I encourage you to get clear on checking the timing of your contracts. And you may not be able to predict the future about how long this relationship is going to go for. I don't think that's in your best interest. But as far as checking in the now, as of right now, my guidance is it in my best interest to continue with this contract? And you will get some very specific, clear answers when you ask a specific question. So for those of you that do want to go deeper, I do have a consultation that's new, that's about your spiritual contracts. So I just encourage you to email me or post a comment below if you're interested in that. And I do have 2 other videos here on YouTube that are about soul contracts. So I'm going to post the link to those right here. Go ahead and check those out as your next step. It's really, really valuable to understand the purpose of spiritual contracts in your life. So I'll see you over there.